At the steel construction summits I have attended, I think third or fourth now, and I feel very happy coming to this place because the interaction that we have in these events and the kind of exposure to the new technologies, to the latest which is going in the world of steel is unmatched, and I thank that you are organizing these events and you keep calling me. So thank you very much for that. The theme for today's session is Steel 360 Degrees, and I was asked to speak on around this theme. So I was just doing my own analysis on what Steel 360 Degree should mean, and I just subdivided that because I cannot cover really the 360-degree aspects of steel. So I just divided that based on my experience. Last 20 years I have been working with steel. So I believe that inception should be, the inception stage of the project is very important for the project itself and for the steel to be used in the project, because it is at this stage that the engineer, the architect, the planners, everybody will work and see what shape the project will take, what shape the structure will take, and whether or not to go for steel. So that is again a decision, because there are competing products. In fact, you will have within steel also whether to go for ordinary steel, go for high strength steel, go for stainless steel. Then design, fabrication, launching. So all these are very important aspects, and I mean, these are all arbitrary numbers. 90 degree doesn't really mean 90 degrees. It's just a relative thing. But the point that I'm making is maintenance, which I have put as 120 degrees, so a third of the entire 360 degrees. So my point here is that the maintenance is very important. I have been involved in maintenance of structures. I have seen very old bridges, 150 years old bridge running on the Indian railway system, which was imported from England in a knockdown condition. It was already working somewhere in England when it came to India, and it was installed on one of the sections, and it was still working when I was maintaining that section. So I have seen good bridges which people have done excellent work during the various phases: inception, design, fabrication, launching, and which have performed excellently even after 100 years, 150 years. And I have seen bad structures which have started giving trouble within 20 years or so. So my point that I'm making is that maintenance is very important. All the people who are involved at different stages, whether at inception stage, design stage, fabrication stage, launching stage, all the stages, people have to understand that ultimately the structure has to have a really long life, maybe 50 years, 100 years, even more than that. And if the maintenance is not done properly, in fact, one of the presentations I gave in Delhi itself, maybe this venue itself, I actually showed how the steel was the favorite material for the Indian Railways, and then the fashion changed and it was 100% concrete. I actually showed those photographs where the steel bridge, 100% steel bridge was replaced with 100% concrete bridge, and then we have turned the cycle around, and now it's a mix of concrete and steel which is being used. So that question why people shifted away from steel, that is something we ought to understand, because today, yes, there is a good acceptance of steel, but then if we make the same mistakes, again the cycle will turn after 20 years. So we have to be very careful, and we ought to give solutions to the people, not just sell the steel. So my focus is, in this talk, my focus is on maintenance. This is a girder, some sort of longer span, and I think it's 154 meter spans, which we launched in very difficult terrain of Jammu and Kashmir. And it's a majestic bridge, I believe, and people really like this kind of structures. The pier also is 140 meters or something like that. Very, very tall piers, and very difficult, challenging work which the engineers have done. And yes, it's beautiful bridge. When I go and inspect this bridge after 15, 20 years, maybe this kind of corrosion sets in. During the cycle, you will have times when the painting is not done in time. The maintenance inputs which ought to be done regularly are not done in time, and you find that the pockets of corrosion and other things coming in. And the old girders, these are the kind of things that we see occasionally. So there's a daylight coming here, and The issue for a person who is maintaining the bridge, who is the owner of the bridge, if you ask the railway people who own the bridge, have the responsibility of running the traffic, who ensure that the traffic is not stopped. Now these are very scary things, and the issue of reliability of the structure and safety both will come in. These are very, very important, because the structure will not always be young, it will not always be the way we have designed and visualized it. This is also a reality of the same structure that somebody designed maybe 50 years ago. So this is the reality of the same structure after 50 years. So a bit of focus on this will help the people who are going to maintain it subsequently. One aspect that I would like to touch here is these are the kind of fashion today, that the things ought to be sleek, things ought to be look really posh kind of things. And the same thing is coming on the steel structures also. This is the ITO walkway. People who are from Delhi will recognize that this is a good structure which has been constructed and erected recently. After launching, you can see that the flooring system is all decked up in ACP. Lots of others foot-over bridges are also being decked in ACP. We have got these kind of structures on railways also. So one of the stations where very sleek, very good structure is there. If you open these layers and you find that inside you have got structure like this. Now what is the real, if you look at it from maintenance point of view, what is going to happen to this structure when it gets really old? A recent case, one of the structures has suffered this fate. Now this of course is not clad, but if you clad, then there is no warning at all. You don't ever come to know what is happening on the inside. What happened? Okay, yeah. So how do we do the inspection? So this, how do we do the inspection? How do I see the corrosion and leakage? This particular structure that I showed, now it was leaking from different places, and the person cannot even find out from where the water is entering and from where it is exiting. Very difficult for the people to maintain such a structure. So we ought to understand what are the expectations of the people, and through our design, through our planning, through our execution, we ought to meet those expectations and make sure that these kind of failures don't take place. Another recent case, so I think this was in headlines and everybody recognizes this photograph. Now in this case, you see that it's a steel structure. Totally from all sides, it's a steel structure. It is in Mumbai, and of course, there will be, I'm not really privy to many of the details, but as an engineer, I see it from a distance, and since I have maintained these kind of structures in coastal areas, so you keep on trying to understand why this has happened, so that if I design something, if I plan something, this kind of a failure should not take place. Of course, one of the usual suspects in coastal areas always is corrosion. So maybe there was some corrosion in the, can we see this? So maybe there was some corrosion in the joints, these floor members which were welded to the main truss. Maybe there was some corrosion there, so that might have led to the failure. But if you look at it closely, why this complete length has collapsed in one go? Now that is a very important question to be asked, because it is possible that it was corroded. In fact, it had undergone structural audit, I think 6 months prior to the accident. So it means that the people who are doing the maintenance, whatever skills are available to those people, so this is not that they could catch. If they cannot catch this was under the flooring. You would do a very nice flooring, end-to-end flooring, but water finds a way and the corrosion takes place. So how do we address this kind of situation? This situation will come. Whatever kind of structure we provide, this situation will come. Towards the end of the life of the structure, this is what is going to happen always. So we ought to understand that this is an eventuality which we have to provide for. So an avoidable failure, I would say, if we take care at different stages of planning of structure, probably we should avoid these kind of things. Again, if you ask me, this structure was very well maintained. I have maintained structures, and looking at the photograph, I can see that there is no real loss of sections, and probably the structure was painted very regularly. There was hardly any corrosion in the main members. So it means that it is the detailing which has led to this kind of issues. So some of my thoughts on what should be done. I like this sign, clean and does what is, you put some You see these kind of structures in India and you find certain things hanging कि आवाज़ आएगी तो लोगों को पता चलेगा या साफ साफ लिखा है कि इसको हिट नहीं करना भाई नहीं तो ब्रिज डैमेज हो जाएगा. This is a 99-meter arch that we launched at Gandhinagar recently. Magnificent structure. It's still coming up, sheeting and other things once it will be done. This should be a landmark for Indian Railways and for the. This is the longest span on the system, and the entire railway land on the station. Entire land is bridged by one single arch, and pretty nice structure it has come up. Now this structure we had to launch and it took 6 months for us to do the planning, as we should be sure because the trains were running underneath. We had to be sure. So when we do the design, how the launching will be done, how the thing will reach its final position is important, and we ought to be careful because lots of shortcuts people take in the field. They are not really conversant with the design, and I am privy to certain things which happened in this case. So my request to all the people who are designing, always have a focus on how it will be launched and then how it will be maintained. This is a water bearing structure which was constructed in steel. We were so surprised. It was in Germany. We were so surprised कि water bearing structure को भी steel में design किया पूरा. And if you see this, does it require a cladding? I think it's clean enough. It's elegant by itself. We don't need to clad this kind of a structure. We clad the structures. Why the architects would like to clad the structure? Because we put too many members, too much detailing in that. So that is why I say, इतना सब वो जाला हो रहा है इसको बंद करिए with something else, which is not great for the structure. Again, clean fabrication, clean joints, so which will help in inspections, which will help in maintenance. The structure will have really good life. If there is trouble, people will be able to at least have a look and try identify it in time. So my request to everybody is, all the people, different aspects are looked after by different people, so everybody should work, and the steel that we provide for should be built to last. It should provide the reliability. Thank you.